Welcome to this invitation-only two-part exhibitor series that we've titled, Get Your 2021 On. I'm Linda Mariano. I'm the Managing Director of Marketing for Redwood Art Group, and I'm going to be your host and moderator today. Joining us are Eric Smith, CEO of Redwood, Hannah Smith, Redwood's social media manager and our business news feature editor, and Laura Mullican, Redwood's senior designer. And thanks everyone for being with us today. If you've joined our previous webinars, today's format's going to be very similar. We'll start with a panel discussion that'll take about 30 minutes or so. And it will be a casual back and forth between the three of us. And we know that this might bring up questions for you, or you might already have a question. Just put that in the chat. And at the end of the discussion, we'll make sure that we get to all those questions because we want to make sure that they get answered. So for today's webinar, we're going to review where we are, what we know, and what might still be uncertain, and share ideas to get you thinking about what's in store for 2021 and taking control of your strategy. The next session will focus on making it happen and maximizing the results. So Eric, let's get started. Where do we start? I think we need a roadmap.
Yeah, roadmaps are always good to have, aren't they? Remember going on those trips when you were a kid and you pulled out the real map and well, you know, there's still so much unknown. We've been in this pandemic now for 10 months. And I was watching Fauci this morning and he said, you know, we still haven't done a great job on rolling out this vaccine, but the new president-elect seems to think we can get 100 million vaccines in people in the next 100 days, which would be terrific, especially for the live event industry, which includes concerts, sporting events, right? Our art fairs, you know, it would be fantastic. So people could start gathering again, at least regionally, and then on a bigger scale. So I think I've told everybody before, we're members of SISO, Society of Independent Show Organizers, and we belong to, you know, 3 associations, and we're on a big meeting every month with the CEOs of the largest event companies in the world, major organizers. Everybody's pushing their dates for live events to at least June and July. So as you can imagine, if you take all the organizations that do events through a whole year, and now everybody's trying to cram them into the last 6 months of 2021, getting dates in cities like New York and Chicago and LA and Miami is impossible. You know, we have dates, so God bless us. But you know, it's pretty tough for everybody, as it is for you trying to survive as an artist or in a gallery during this time. So to give you a little bit of a roadmap, get back to the proper subject here, you know, we're going to continue doing our virtual events, RAVE, through June. We have 3 of them scheduled. In July, we're going to start with our regional events, Art Santa Fe. We're going to announce a new event in Brooklyn, Spectrum Brooklyn, in September. We're just finalizing that now, and we'll send an email to everybody. And then we have our Art San Diego event, which is fantastic, in October. So the regional events heading into November, we'll do Art Expo New York, November 18th through the 21st. And then we'll go into Art Basel Week and do Red Dot and Spectrum in December. So that's kind of our 2021 layout. Going into 2022, we're going to add another show in February, which would be Spectrum Wynwood. And the pent-up demand for shows right now is off the charts because I'm getting calls from people every day. When are we going to get out there and do it? But we want to be safe. We want to be effective, meaning bringing you the proper attendees and they have to feel comfortable too, as much as you might feel comfortable, ready to go. You know, we want the attendees and the collectors to feel comfortable. So let's talk about now and what we can be doing now. So Hannah, why don't you give us a few pointers?
Absolutely. So most of us are spending all of our time indoors, so we're not getting in front of people face to face. But one major thing you can do is utilize social media. It's a free tool and it's super easy to use, and it is the best way to reach a large group. This includes Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and also don't forget LinkedIn. I think some people think LinkedIn is only for business, but it's a really great tool to use as well. Utilize tagging us in photos, tagging some of your collectors in photos, tagging relevant subjects to what you're creating. You know, if you paint a photo of LeBron James, tag Sports Illustrated, tag the Lakers, also hashtagging as well. So always if you're a seller on our site, always tag hashtag Redwood Art Group so we can see it as well and eventually repost you. And we'll also dive deeper in this in our next webinar. You guys know I always say get comfortable being uncomfortable. Couple ways to do this, you know, challenge yourself to 1 photo a day for 21 days, and that will form a habit of posting every day, and it'll kind of just get into your daily routine. You can jump on Instagram stories and talk to the camera and tell people what you're creating. You can reach out to people via DM, say someone comments, you know, hard eyes on one of your pieces of artwork, reach out to that person and, you know, make a new connection. You can join Facebook groups. You can also join groups on LinkedIn, which I highly recommend. They don't have to be just art groups. They can be business groups to help you, you know, utilize social media as well. And you can always reach out to me if you have any questions.
So, you know, those are great ideas, Hannah. You know, the other thing, just remember to use your email list. And if you have a collector's mailing address, send a personal note. It'll make a big impression. The other thing is keep creating, keep working, pursue continuing education like this webinar and more of what's out there. I was listening to the news this morning and they were talking about how all of us, all of us have been so impacted by the pandemic, not only financially and business wise, but also emotionally. So reconnecting with people makes you feel productive. It also might even inspire some of the things you're thinking about working on. So use all of those roadmap components as constants. And, you know, what else can we do to create and maintain that personal connection and possibly sales? Eric, I think you've got a couple of ideas about that.
Yeah, you know, this is a good time to turn off the news
Yeah.
for at least a couple hours a day and go out and get some, I have them, just some cards that have your name embossed on them. And, you know, I've been getting notes from some artists like, you know, I hope you guys are doing well. We need you. We can't wait to get back to live events. Thanks for your seminars and education. Thanks for the RAVE event. We got a number from people that participated. Those mean a lot, those personal notes. It's funny, I went out to the mailbox and I opened, I'm like, who's writing me from Kansas City? Who's writing me from, right? And these cards come. And you remember that, you could do that with your collectors. And, you know, make sure you have your website on there so they can go back and say hi to you, or make sure you friend them on Facebook. So, but the best person, you know, for direct sales to sell another piece of art to is somebody you've already sold a piece of art to. You've heard me say that before. So go back to your collectors, your present collectors, and email them some new pieces. Ask them, get their opinion. Just send them a piece and say, what do you think of this new piece I painted, right? Very soft sell, right? You don't feel intimidated by doing it. You're just asking a question as if they're your best friend. But that's always been the best person to sell another piece of art to is your past collector. From my heart, I can't tell you how hard it must be being an artist during this time and not being able to do live events and meet people face to face because they're not there in front of you. And so you've got to embrace the social media and these ideas that we're bringing to you today.
Yeah, and share what you're doing on social media. People want to see what you're up to, and this can go deeper than just creating your art and posting pieces of art. This can be your lifestyle. If you have a dog or you live on a really cool piece of property, you have a cool art studio, show people that aspect of your life. A couple of good examples of these people that do this really well are Jason Skeldon and Gatsby. They kind of show you photos of themselves, what they're doing, and it creates a whole nother layer of you as a follower being invested in their lifestyle, and you kind of want to keep up to date to what they're doing. And when you do post that piece of art, tell people about it. Tell them how much it costs, the dimensions, give the specs on it so they know this. Maybe someone's looking for a 48 by 48 piece and you made that, so they might reach out to you that way. And also a little bit of creating FOMO, the fear of missing out. Make a deadline. You have this piece and it's only going to be available for 2 weeks. And if you don't buy it, then you lose out. Or even hop on your stories, create an Instagram poll. I'm making this new piece. Do you like it? Yes or no? And then see what people vote, and you can go from there. You can also make a sale that can last, the month of February or for a week or whichever you feel comfortable doing.
So I think the message is try something new or use avenues that you know about and that you're involved with to better advantage. One way that we worked on new was the first virtual fair that we did last month, RAVE Miami. And it was interesting. We learned a lot. There were some challenges. There were certainly some successes. It was, and maybe many of you probably took a look at it or have looked at the videos post event. We did 2 hours each day, Friday and Saturday, and it ran 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, 7 to 9 Eastern time. And we were hoping that maybe 1,000 people over those 2 days would tune in. We had over 3,200 attendees over the 2 days. So Eric's right. There's a lot of pent up desire to see events, to be involved. And afterwards, we did a survey of our attendees. And it was really the content that brought them and interested them. And 68% of the attendees attended both days. Maybe not all 2 hours, we don't know that part, but certainly that it was interesting enough that they came back on the second day. The thing that they told us was the most interesting to them were the artist interviews and the studio visits. And, I have to agree that my favorite part of RAVE Miami were absolutely the studio visits, stepping into the Exhibitor's studio, seeing what they were working on. It was really great. It was fun walking down the streets of New York with Dane, an instrumental leader in the street art movement. Those were some of my walking into James Patterson's studio and seeing the new machines that he's working on. Eric, how about you? What was your favorite?
Well, my favorite was Anthony Delju's comment when he got on. He wasn't scheduled for an hour and a half into the program. And he signed on at the beginning. And then when he did come on, he said, I got to tell you something, Eric. I signed on at the beginning just to get 5 or 10 minutes of, what's this going to be like? and I haven't clicked off yet. He says, now I know why I got in the art business. I thought that was fantastic. And Anthony and I have known each other a long time. That was a good compliment. He enjoyed the program. So did I. It was really fun. And Hannah and I hosted it, and it was fun. It was really great getting in to meet everybody. And obviously we rehearse all that before we do it with everybody who, any of you are out there that want to participate in the next one. We hold your hand through the whole process. So some of the things were recorded and some were live. It just depended on how people felt, if they were comfortable or not. A lot of art was sold. You know, I think everybody knows, I think one artist sold 11 or 12 pieces. He did a really good job in inviting his collectors, making sure that they knew he was going to be on. He handled it just like he would a live event, just like he was going to Art Expo or Art Santa Fe and inviting everybody to come. And his pieces sell anywhere from, you know, under $1,000 for a reproduction to $5,000 for, you know, original pieces. So a lot of art was sold. However, a lot of the art that almost all the art that was sold was not through the Redwood Art Group site, because people are, everybody knows this. Everybody Googles the artist. Whoever's watching right now, they just Google your name and go directly to you. Good friends of Kelly and mine, the Gebhardts, Chris and Angela Gebhardt, have been on Saatchi for, I think, 6 years now. It took them 3 years before they even sold their first piece. And even today, the artists or the collectors Google them first and go directly to them. They don't just buy through, you know, Saatchi. So it's really kind of struck a chord with me, because when we do our live events, we put you first. You're in your booth, you know, we build the infrastructure, you're in your booth, and the relationship is between you and the collector. And that's the way it should be, because the collectors want to meet the artists, they want to meet the gallery owners, they want that relationship. So, you know, putting Redwood Art Group, the site, in between there is a little difficult. So I think what we're going to do is go to a different model. We're going to go back to providing, you know, all the sales to you. We want to be your mechanics. We want to be the person you lean on to get all the expertise. We want to be the educator, and we want to be the provider of good internet structure and financial capabilities, meaning you'll be able to run your charges through us. And the only thing we're really going to take is the fee for the credit card processing, which is fair, because, or we'd be losing money, right? But we're going to change the model on that to give you 100% of the profits, at least without the processing fee. And we'll be announcing that pretty soon. We did realize that 40% of the people of the there were 3,261 people to be exact, and 40% of them are willing to buy online, which is a really big number. So, you know, over 1,200 people were on the RAVE event that could purchase art. And again, the collectors prefer buying from the gallery or the studio and building the relationship with the artist, and they should. A couple points that you could write down, or we'll send this out, is, you know, the biggest selling art online, the most popular price point is $500 and a little bit less. Second, 500 to 1,000, and then 1,000 to 2,500. So people are still comfortable buying works where they can pull out their credit card and ding it for 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, and they're comfortable with that. It's like buying a piece of furniture. Kelly and I just bought a couple new chairs 10 months ago, and they were, you know, $2,500, and they were on sale, and we made the purchase, and, you know, and that's a thing you can put on your credit card. Same with the art. So we'll be changing that model over the next 90 days and announcing that to you soon. Linda?
So maybe one of the key questions is then what makes participating in a virtual event successful?
Yeah.
people want the connection directly with the artist, with the gallery owner. What can the exhibitor do to heighten their success if they're participating in a virtual event?
Well, they got to make it happen. You know, it's our job to invite our 120,000 subscribers. It's our job to advertise on Facebook and Instagram and digitally as much as we can. But it's your job as an exhibitor to invite your friends, your family, and your collectors to see you in our new events. And I think Linda's going to talk about this in a bit. Our new events are limited to an hour. So you only have to tell them, you just need to commit to 1 hour and I'm going to be on, right? But the reason that you participate in these virtual events is the same way you buy an ad in a magazine for exposure, right? I mean, you go buy an ad in Art News or Art Forum or ArtNet or whatever, and it's $2,000, $2,500, $1,500, you know. But that's why you would participate in a virtual event. The beauty of it is you get a 3 to 4 minute interview, you're getting airtime, you're getting interviewed by myself or Hannah or somebody. And you're in front of your customer, you're branding yourself, you're meeting new collectors, you're making contacts, you're keeping your story alive, and ultimately you want to make sales, right? Whether it's during the live event, after the live event, or at our next live event, during the virtual event, or at our next live event when somebody sees you and says, oh yeah, I saw you on RAVE, right? So you want to pick your best artwork to go in the booth. Think about your pricing, the content you're putting up there, the appeal that it's going to have. And remember to price in the free shipping if you're going to participate in an event, because we advertise free shipping. Everybody does online. We have to do it. So if your piece is selling for, $1,200, you might want to price it at $1,395 to include, $195 of shipping. You could also do your own live stream event on Facebook and Instagram during the RAVE event. And if any of these things we're talking to you about, like Hannah uses terms like DM, direct messaging, right? And any hashtagging, all this stuff over. If you have any questions about that, don't be embarrassed to send Hannah an email, Hannah, Hannah. You can spell it both ways, backwards and forwards, at redwoodartgroup.com, and she'll answer all your questions. So, right, Hannah?
Yeah. And you also just want to make sure you are marketing yourself and your involvement, especially when you do these RAVE events or, any one of our live events too. Send invitations, invite people directly on social media through direct messaging, DMing them. You can, include it in your newsletter that you're participating in this event, post on social media as said. And I actually, I saw someone yesterday that I follow on Instagram. They kind of did an Instagram swap where one person took over the other person's stories for the day and kind of introduced herself. So that's if you have an artist that you're friends with from one of our fairs, do it together and cross promote each other and then invite people that way, and you'll reach a much larger network, especially doing that.
Very good. And I just want to go back real quick to something we said about price points. The price points that we're talking about are really coming from public records and, Artsy and Saatchi and Art Finder out of London. I personally met with the people at Saatchi. I personally met with Art Finder. Kelly and I were in Europe and we went over and met with Mikhail. He's the CEO of Art Finder. And, we kind of share stories. Where are you? What's your price point? And everybody is around there's a lot of lower priced art that's dragging that price point down a little bit, but you do want to be in the $500 to $2,000 range if you can for selling art online. So Linda, do you have any more comments?
Well, everything you guys are talking about and what we learned from the first RAVE event, from both the exhibitors and the attendees. Here's what we've kind of boiled it all down to, and what will happen with these next 3 RAVE events. They'll be over 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There'll be an hour program each day. The number of exhibitors for each RAVE event will be limited to 40. That way, each one of those days, we can feature 10 artists. And we'll be giving individual attention to each artist, each gallery, each exhibitor. And that way you'll be able to have a 3 to 5 minute live streamed interview or studio visit. It might be pre-recorded or live, whatever the choice is. And each one of the RAVE booths will accommodate top 9 pieces per artist. And the cool part about it is that the exhibitor keeps 100% of the revenue. And the other thing we're going to do that I think will be fun is we're going to have a theme for each one of those days. So imagine Thursday happy hour, Friday is curator day. Maybe on Saturday we feature pieces that are artists that have pieces that are $1,000 and under. Sunday maybe it's 500 and under. And mixed in with that each day, we would also have celebrities. You know, for RAVE Miami, we had Dave Navarro and Risk, and really kind of a focus on street art. So we'll do things like that, and to create the content and the excitement, as well as to get back to that desire on attendees' part of meeting and seeing the exhibitors firsthand. Those tours and studio visits really become an important part of the program, and being able to feature each one of the exhibitors also becomes a really important part of the programming.
Yep. Virtual events are important. You know, I don't know if everybody knows this, but part of our management groups that we're in going through this pandemic with these bigger companies, right? These big event companies. One of them is Gary Shapiro. He's a member, and he is the president of CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, which is going on right now virtually. They normally gather in Las Vegas every year. It's a big deal. Everybody sees it. You see it on CNN, Fox News, whatever you watch, MSNBC. I mean, it's a big deal every year, right? CES has gone virtual because they're still putting buyers and sellers together. And that's what's important about RAVE. You know, I mean, where else are you going to see 3,200 people in a 2-day period, now a 4-day period, but, you know, hopefully we'll get more. So, you know, the participation fee, I think is, what is it, $7.95, Linda? Yeah.
Right.
And then if you sign up early, you get a $100 discount for being on this educational thing and stuff. So, and we'll teach you how to, the education part of it, we'll teach you how to register. We can teach you how to follow the deadlines. We can teach you how to do a proper video where the lighting's going to be. It's really simple. I mean, I think we spent about 30 minutes to 45 minutes with each exhibitor leading up to the show, because the week before the show, we'll be calling each one individually and setting up a time to do a Zoom call like this, and then, you know, walking and holding your hand through the whole process. It's actually fun, and we get to know each other. Hannah's on the call. She sees you. She's like, send me some photos. We'll start Instagramming you now. I mean, it's really kind of a homespun little thing, but it's really, it's a blast. So I enjoyed getting to know, I knew most of the artists, but I enjoyed getting to know the ones that I didn't know. Like I didn't know Dane before, and that was really, and Jason Naylor. Yeah, he was terrific. So, yeah. And social media, Hannah, right?
Yeah, another part of maximizing your participation will be social media, and we will coach you through it. We'll provide you with all the information you need, how to, if you don't even have social media, we need to talk, but we can talk about how to set up your accounts, what to post, when to post it. We'll give you copy suggestions, hashtags, all of that good stuff.
Yeah. So I think I've summarized it pretty well for everybody. I mean, Linda, you were going to give them the schedule for the next 3 events, right?
Right. So the first one is RAVE with a focus on San Diego. And we're actually talking to some curators and some museums and some celebrities that are from the San Diego, Southern California area. So RAVE San Diego will be March 4th through 7th. RAVE with a focus on New York, ditto with the celebrities and the outreach there, April 22nd to the 25th. And then RAVE Focus Austin, where Hannah is, June 24th to 27th.
Perfect. And then if you sign up by the end of January, it's only $6.95. So that kind of wraps everything up. We wanted to make this a little bit of information for you on what we're doing, you know, for the course of 2021. Obviously, you can send us emails or questions to info@redwoodartgroup.com if you have any questions. And actually, we might have some questions right now on this chat. Laura, do we have any questions from anybody?
Yeah. MJ from Art Blends asks, did I hear you say you will be doing live Zoom type feeds during the rave?
Absolutely. So we'll be doing stepping into studios, interviewing gallery owners, and it'll be live streamed. So in the same way that you see us all on your screen right now, imagine seeing yourself and us interviewing you. And that can be live or it can be pre-recorded.
Right. Whatever you're comfortable with.
Yep.
So funny story, Laura is in the background. She's like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, right? And our last rave event, we go live. I do an introduction. I think it was about 4 minutes. And then we're going to bring in Dave Navarro from the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Jane's Addiction, right? The guitarist. And I didn't know this, but in the first 4 minutes, Laura's computer died, which is just went black. And she's like thinking the whole Zoom call is dead, but it wasn't. We were still going on. Her computer comes back alive. And I said, Laura, can you take us to Dave Navarro? And she goes, blink, pushes the button seamlessly over to Dave Navarro. None of us knew that. We have a backup plan for that now, by the way, but none of us knew that Laura's computer went dead till we were done. And she was pouring her glass of champagne saying, oh my God, I need this right now, right?
Yeah, it's devastating.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, Bill Sotomayor is asking, can we hashtag Redwood Art Group on Instagram posts?
Absolutely, 100%. You should be hashtagging Redwood Art Group on our Instagram posts. I have also been doing RAVE. You can do RAVE, you know, RAVE Austin, RAVE New York, but the next one will be RAVE San Diego. So RAVE San Diego and Redwood Art Group, for sure, hashtag.
And MJ is asking, how long of a segment can they have?
3 to 5 minutes per artist. We say 3 to 5. I mean, they could go the full 5 minutes. It's just, you know, some artists are more comfortable. 3 to 5 minutes is a long time. Imagine talking for and you won't be, because we'll ask you questions, you know, tell us about this. During the rehearsal, I'll give you an example with James Patterson. He's up in Canada. We went from Canada to France, to Atlanta, to Florida, to New York. We were all over Vancouver. We were all over the place on the last rave event. And people just, we give you a link and you're on in the background, and then Laura just puts you on the screen. It's pretty simple. So,
you know,
anyway.
So that's a really good point, Eric. For the international people that we have that are listening and watching this webinar today, yes, absolutely. International people can be involved in the virtual event. It's kind of cool. And we love going to different countries, like Eric was saying, So if you're interested in participating in the virtual event, absolutely, we would encourage you to be part of it. And, you know, taking the audience internationally, without having to get on an airplane, without having to travel, without having to buy that ticket, although I'm very anxious to do that right now. It's really a way to broaden your scope. Any other questions, Laura?
Yeah. Annie is asking, I'm guessing galleries as well, not just artists. We can certainly choose an artist or two to speak with. So she's wondering how she would structure that as a gallery to have
Yeah.
an interview.
Yeah, you can actually, as a gallery, you could pick a couple artists, do a minute on each one and have 4 or 5 if you wanted to, that's fine. We would just do a script beforehand during the practice session and nail it, you know, and you could have your feed right through your gallery and walk around a little bit. The less walking around though, the better we found, because you don't want the camera bouncing around and things like that. It's better if people are seated and the art is behind them. But we can educate you on all that.
You know, and if you, Laura, maybe you can put the link for the RAVE Miami videos, because if you take a look at those, you'll see how some of that transpired and how some of the galleries who were exhibitors, how they then featured various artists.
Any more questions, Laura?
That's all we've gotten so far.
Okay.
Okay, well, you know, thanks for joining us. Watch your inbox for updates and news on the next webinar. It'll probably be in about 10 days, and it'll feature some of the exhibitors that used RAVE to build their collector base and sold art along the way. So that'll be kind of fun to get some feedback from some individual exhibitors. And yeah, Eric, anything in summation?
No, I think, Laura, are you going to play a couple of videos?
Yeah, I'm going to play the interview with Dane.
Okay, so if everybody wants to, we'll sign off, and but if you stay on, you'll be able to watch at least an example of what we did in the last event if you want to do that. And then if you need any more, just email us, info@redwoodartgroup.com, and we'll send you some more. And you know,
And watch our website. If you're wondering now, what are the dates for all of these different events, the RAVE events, as well as the live events that begin in July, go to our All Fairs page. And maybe you can post that in the chat as well, Laura. And that's constantly updated. And it's updated now. So all of those dates are there on that All Fairs page.
very good.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, and stay on and watch this video that Laura's going to play. I think you're going to enjoy it. Roll the video, Laura. Thanks.
Earlier this week, we had the opportunity to step inside the studio of the famous New York street graffiti artist, Dane. I love Dane's work. He combines old Hollywood with wheat paste, spray paint, silk screens, and collage of materials that he finds in New York and on the streets of New York. And, you know, he says, when you buy one of my paintings, you never know what you're going to get. It could be a little rat poop in the thing or something. It was kind of funny. But, and for those of you that don't know what wheat pasting is, it's basically an adhesive, a liquid adhesive that the graffiti artists would use to put up things that weren't permanent. They would eventually deteriorate, like we were talking about earlier with tape. So that's what happened. So I think Laura's going to play a video for us. It's about 7 or 8 minutes long on Dane that we shot earlier this week.
I love New York, especially old school New York. I love old neighborhoods. like Chinatown. I mean, inspiration's everywhere. I mean, it's just the streets, the doorways, the alleyways. Everything is inspiration in New York. Coach, it's New York through and through. It's a classic, iconic. I just love working with patterns. So whether it's checkerboards, contrasting dark and light, so to have the C pattern in my work, it's just a perfect fit.
I'm going to assume you started with street art before you moved to the canvas. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, I had no idea that I was going to be, doing canvases and galleries and doing shows all around the world. You're just kind of messing around, getting back into it, having fun, and that's the key to anything really. If you're not having fun, then you're just really wasting your time. So it was all about just getting back on the streets and, kind of being a kid again, I guess, and then just from there, it just, developed. And I did my first show. I was in part of a group show in Manhattan, then in Brooklyn, and then from there I've done shows in London, in Italy, Australia, Mexico City, Berlin. Just
Wow.
of course all around the States. I'm represented by a couple of galleries.
And I'm going to assume you work on multiple pieces at a time.
Usually, yeah, I'm usually working on 3 or 4 pieces at one time. So all based on collage. So I'm doing 3, 4 canvases, this and that. So that's always my foundation, is usually collage. And all the paper that I have is found on the streets of New York. They're basically tore down posters from the streets.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Get a taste of New York when you get a canvas. You might get a little dirt, you might get a rat hair, you might get something in that canvas. That's really, really New York. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Do you still do wheat pasting around New York?
I do, yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a little blurred line between graffiti and wheat pasting because it doesn't last so long, right?
Well, I kind of like that. You got to catch it while it's up at the
Yeah.
time. I love that it starts to fade away. That's really what I really love about doing paste ups and street art, is that it's temporary. So, if you catch it, you catch it. You got to wait for something new. But I love when it kind of, decomposes in the streets and the weather and
Yeah.
everything else. And sometimes it even takes on a new beauty once it starts to, that affects us. I love that, to me, real street art is illegal. So unless you're putting stuff on the streets illegal, I guess it's technically street art, but you can't be a graffiti artist unless you're doing graffiti illegal. You can't be a street artist, a wheat paste artist, unless you're putting up illegal. Now, I do some commissions on the streets from time to time, but you still got to have that presence. You still got to be doing illegal stuff in my book.
So tell me about the dripping eye.
The dripping eye was just something that, my work began with mostly 99% of the images are always women. My dad got me into Humphrey Bogart and those old movies from the 40s and 50s. So I love that Hollywood glam. I love those old looks. I love, the guys in the suits and the women with the hair and the makeup and the full faces. So my images are always based on the face of a woman. So it's the eyes, the lips. So I think the circle and drip around the eye just wanted, people to really focus on the eyes, because to me, the eyes, they're like the window. I forgot what the saying is, but it's the soul to the body, the eyes. So, when people see someone's eyes, you could tell a lot about somebody. So I want people to focus in on the eyes. And it just became like a trademark for me, and I was doing different colors, and now it's usually just a pink circle and drip. And, you know, that's how people really recognize my work. I mean, there's other things, the flowers, the collage, but I'm really associated with that circle and drip around the eye.
Yeah, I found myself when I was looking at your work, focusing in the center, right around the eye first, and then you get the face, and then all of the other things, the flowers and everything else you put onto the canvas. A lot to explore, yeah.
Yes,
It kind of sucks you in, and then you get to explore the whole thing.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, yeah, I just, that's what, you know, I grew up, like, again, my dad was really into those old movies. And as a kid, I hated them. I was like, these things are not even in color. What's going on? But as I got a little bit older, I really learned to appreciate just the style. I just love that you had to use your imagination. You know, what color hat? What color was that dress? What color are those old cars? You know, so I just really fell in love with them. They're mostly what I watch now. And then my mother loved flowers. She loved doing floral designs. And I think it was just a combination of just my mom and dad. They're really my greatest influences, and just New York. I mean, just growing up in New York, you know, you can move here, it's one thing, but when you grew up here in the 70s and 80s, and you just know the streets, and just there's just something about New York that's just its own style, its own thing. So I'm really, really grateful that I was, you know, live in this city. And where I grew up in a very diverse area. I grew up in the projects, poor background. I was brought up in Coney Island, so that's where I'm from, Coney Island, Brooklyn. And I just think that diversity of black and white and just all colors, all nations, all people, I think that's just what makes my art. I love colors, I love people, and I guess I love to talk, as you can see.
Yeah, that's great. And you're entertaining. The audience is going to love it.
Italian American, and so we talk with our hands. We love to talk. We love to eat, and so yeah.
Well, I'm going to let everybody know to check out your booth space because it was well designed. It looks great. I love all the pieces on it. And you've got those prints starting at $500 and then going up to original work. So I encourage them to do that. I want to thank you for being with us today.
Eric, it's my pleasure. Yeah, it was really cool. My pleasure.
All right, man.